So, have you ever been playing a random video game and thought to yourself, man, this is a great game. How come nobody's talking about this? Well, that gave me an idea for doing a quick video here today before I do any streaming. So, I wanted to talk about gig games, great games that I have that no one really ever talks about. And then I think most of these games had pretty favorable reviews. So, if you have any games like that you want to mention, you can throw that down in the comments section because I'm always interested to hear about experiences other players had with games that are good that I just haven't really heard of because no one talks about them. So, first game, Batman Forever for the Super NES. No, I'm definitely kidding. That's an April Fool's joke right there. That game sucks. All right, what do I want to show first? Here we go. My wife and I had a lot of fun with this game, actually. Fishing Resort for the Wii. Now, I have to give credit where credit's due. She actually picked this one out, and I thought, oh man, this game's going to be garbage. But then later I discovered, hey, it's developed by Xseed. And for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, Xseed is actually working on a Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town remake for the Switch, except they have to call it Story of Seasons because they don't own the rights to the name Harvest Moon anymore. But apparently they're able to remake the game. How that works, I don't know. But this game, basically, you're a character that gets dropped off on an island, and there are several different parts of the island that have different biomes, and you are tasked with catching all of the fish on the island to restock an aquarium. So, for people who just kind of like to chill out and have fun and, be completionists, this is a really fun game to play. Graphics aren't too great, but graphics aren't really important for a game like that. Another Wii game, Dawn of Discovery, which is basically a top-down city builder similar to Banished, I suppose, would be a good modern-day comparable. This one was done by Ubisoft. Ubisoft has done a lot of like city builder survival type games, and most of them aren't very good. They did Tropico. Tropico's okay. But then I don't know much about the Anno series, and I do know a little bit about the Settlers series that they do, but most of those games aren't very good. I played a couple of them and was like, this has been done better. This game does it a little bit better. I think there was a PC version of this game with less cartoony graphics, but this one was made especially for the Wii, and it's actually done very well. There is combat towards the end of the game. But if you play it in sandbox mode, you can pretty much do whatever you want. But yeah, we had a good time with it. Okay, got a couple PlayStation games here. PlayStation 1, matter of fact, Destruction Derby 2. I had a lot of fun with this. I think I rented it several times before I actually bought it. And obviously, because I got the greatest hits version. But even though it was a greatest hit, no one really talked about this game too much. The first one wasn't very good, and I think that's probably why. The first game wasn't very good. Destruction Derby 64 probably wasn't that good. I never played it, but I've read descriptions of it, and it sounded like, I don't know if it was good. But the thing that made this game really fun compared to the first one was the physics, and that your car could just fly off of a ramp and flip around. And especially in the Derby Bowl tracks, which the first game didn't even have. Now, in this game, of course, there's only I think there were only 3 cars to choose from, and it was like novice, amateur, and pro. And like novice was the slowest speed but had the best handling, but pro was fastest speed and the worst handling. I don't know what sense that makes, but that's kind of how it was here. Developed by Psygnosis, who did not do Destruction Derby 64. I believe let's see, they had to have THQ publish it, and I forget who worked on it, but I know THQ published Destruction Derby 64. But yeah, I have a lot of great memories with this game. A lot of like grungy heavy metal soundtrack, which isn't really my thing, but it fit the game. And also, you'll have to excuse me. I'm dealing with some allergies today. Not the C virus. No, it's more like a thing where someone stuck a feather up one of your nostrils and you're in a constant state of wanting to sneeze. One of those things. Anyway, the next game, Rebel Assault 2 for the PlayStation, a Star Wars game where you're playing missions and the Empire has developed a TIE fighter that can cloak. And the missions are, you're either in a cockpit shooting at things, or you're looking, you're outside the cockpit in third person mode, trying to steer whatever you're flying and trying not to crash. There's also just some shooting missions. And the funny thing is, this isn't the shooting missions are kind of, you're not the one doing the walking around. You're in cover and you come out of cover and you shoot. You're in cover, you come out of cover, shoot. And it sounds really lame, but you don't really do that forever. The game moves a little bit faster than that. And then I think there's a couple levels where you're in first person, but again, you don't move. During a cut scene, your character moves, and then you stay in place and you aim the gun around and shoot. And it sounds primitive, but because the story of the game is actually really good, it sort of makes up for it. So that was another good one. Okay, now, anyone who knows me knows I'm a big fan of Jaws, so I've got a copy of Jaws Unleashed for PlayStation 2. And this one is basically Grand Theft Auto, except you're playing as a shark. And it, I don't know, how do I say this? It's exactly the same kind of game design as Grand Theft Auto. You're in the open ocean with the shark, and you're completing main missions and side missions, and there's collectibles. And of course, the thing that makes this better, well, I wouldn't say better, but it's the same as you can upgrade your abilities and you get new abilities, and things like that. But this was just a really fun game because there were so many different ways you could eat the tourists and destroy the boats and do all sorts of things with the shark. Okay, and now this one really goes back. Crusader No Remorse for the PlayStation 1. So the story with me in this game is I had a friend who was lived a couple houses down from me, and he would sometimes go and rent games to play on my PlayStation because he didn't have one. Sorry. And this was one game he brought over one time, and he said, I rented this because I thought it looked cool because it had a guy with a machine gun on the front. I was like, okay, well, let's put it in and play it. And so it's basically a top-down. The graphics style is a sort of like Diablo or the first Fallout game. I don't know what do they call that, isolinear, something like that. And basically, you're going around shooting up facilities and trying to take down this corporation as someone who defected from the corporation. So it's a lot of fun because basically anytime you're on the screen, everything you can blow up. And I'll probably stream this game after I've done Donkey Kong 64, just because I never see this talked about. And I think if you play it the right way, which I would play it with the cheat code on so that you don't die, you just kind of go through it and blow everything up. So that was the fun part of that game. So that's all I've got here. If you've got some games you want to mention, you can throw that down in the comments. And I'm going to stream a little bit later tonight because I had a game arrive a day earlier than I thought it would, and plus there was something else I wanted to talk about. So until then, I'll see you guys later.